The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
All right, King, looking at the menu this week, I'm going to get the King pulled pork sandwich, make it royal, get some waffles, sweet potato fries, and I'll have a root beer. How about you, King?
Let's see. I'm going to go with the ribs. Can't go wrong with the ribs.
And you, Jim?
Oh, gosh. Triple cheese, extra cheese, mayonnaise, pickle, onion only, large fries with Sprite. Wait. I'm sorry.
Jim, we don't have cheeseburgers.
Well, no, it
barbecue restaurant.
It took me so long, I don't fly. It took me so long to drive down here to just to have lunch with you guys. I had to stop at Wendy's on the way, and I blanked out for a second. No,
you were reordering your Wendy's order, right?
I'm going with the Big Red Splash. Ooh. In honor of Big Red. The Holy Ghost Splash.
You remember Big Red?
The sound of my voice. Big Red was one of my favorite wrestlers. It's got just like he did. It's got everything: brisket, pork, ribs, sausage. How can
what did he have? What do you mean? He had everything?
He had everything.
Penicillin for that?
He had multiple meat. He was like 375 pounds, just like the Big Red Splash.
And he had freckles. Do you remember that? He had freckles.
Well, yes, but the beard covered up some of them, or he would have looked like he'd been dove headfirst into a wasp nest. Mm-hmm. But he had freckles all around his eyes, and what a big smile. He actually brought his mother and father to Louisville Gardens one night to see him wrestle when he was in the main event, 1977. And if you can, and he wore a three-piece suit, because when he was preaching, right?
Yep, exactly.
He wore a three-piece suit. He didn't have a tie on, but he had the vest on and the collared shirt, and he looked real nice. And then in came his father, who I believe also was a preacher, who was a older black gentleman with gray hair and kind of balding head, but he was as big and his head was as round and he was as portly, as they say, as Big Red, and wearing a three-piece suit and just dressed to the nines in these nice shoes. And then his mother walked in, and she had this beautiful colored dress on and a flower on her bosom, and with a hat, and the church ladies of the time type of thing that were wearing is very, very elegant with her purse and everything, and she was every bit as big as
really?
as both Big Red and Daddy Red. And they were the nicest, most pleasant people, but imagine Big Red if it was like one of those movies where Big Red played his parents also. It was amazing family resemblance.
Well, that's one of the reasons we named this plate after Big Red, because you're right, he was a big guy and so much fun to be around. I mean, you couldn't help but love the guy, man. He was an awesome person. And I promise you are going to love the Big Red Splash, because like I said, a little bit of everything. You're going to get some pulled pork, you're going to get some ribs, you're going to get some
sausage,
brisket,
the big thing.
Oh my gosh, the smoked sausage, yes, all of that stuff.
Because you got to have some greasy meat and some
Our sausage is not greasy here. Come on.
You see, I like greasy meat. But you got to have some meat there before you eat the sweet potato waffle fries with all that sugar and syrup, because that's the perfect way for everything to go down. And I'm going to be digging into some of that. I'm going to have all that powdered sugar all over my face. I'm going to look like Ricky Morton in 1986.
Well, before you tell us what you look like, we ought to probably, Glenn, maybe we should tell who is here with us. I'm sure most people can tell by the sound of his voice. It's unmistakable. But who we have here is a special.
Unmistakable, sort of like the first signs of leprosy.
Yeah, leprosy. I haven't heard that word in years.
Well, he is the host of the Jim Cornette Experience, a longtime wrestling legend, at least in my eyes. He is Jim Cornette. You can find his podcast and all his merch at jimcornette.com.
Thank you for being here, Jim. As a matter of fact,
thank you guys, and thank you for the free lunch.
Kentucky. Yeah, that's the least you can do after you're driving all the way. How much you spend on gas from Louisville to here?
Oh, well, actually, I just did a couple of dash and runs at the pump. No, it's nothing to come down and have lunch with you guys. A mere pittance, a mere bag of shells.
Oh, well, good. I appreciate that. You have to come more often then.
Well, I don't know if I'll ever do this again, but
That's what I was thinking. Hey, you know what? We were just real quick before we get all jovial and be all happy and everything. I wanted to mention a couple things. You were talking about Big Red, and he was one of our old-time favorites. I just saw that another one of my all-time favorites passed away. You remember Burrhead Jones?
yes,
Or was it
yes.
before your time?
No, I remember. I never got to meet him. Bobby Eaton actually spoke highly of him. That he had worked with him when he worked for Nick early, and that he was a wonderful guy. But I did see him on television, when I was a kid, and as I think you guys teamed him up with Rufus R. Jones in the Coliseum one year.
Well, that was before I had anything. I was not in charge at all then. That was
I say you guys. You've inherited the legacy.
There you
Jerry,
go.
you've always been the guiding light of Memphis wrestling.
Oh, please. But yeah, Burrhead. I mean, he was back in the day. We were wrestling against Burrhead when Sam Bass was managing me, and I'll never forget. One time we were in the ring, and just the referee would always call the two participants together and go over the instructions for the match. And Sam was standing there with me, and Sam always wore cowboy boots. He was part of the Bass family, and he had these pointy cowboy boots. And Burrhead looked down and said, "Mr. Referee," he said, "Yeah, Burrhead." He said, "Sam ain't gonna kick me with them keen-toed boots, is he?" That was the first time I'd ever heard keen-toed boots. And he said later, and Sam said, "No, these boots are made like this for killing roaches when they hide in the corner." So anyway, that's my Burrhead Jones story. But yeah, Burrhead he was another guy like Big Red. What a funny guy to be around, and he was just such a pleasure. He was 80 years old.
And that surprised me because I guess he was older when, even when I saw him as a kid, and had been around for a while in New York before he ever moved south. So.
And then another death just day before yesterday. My friend for my entire life, Mike Mashburn, who was my next door neighbor growing up over on Vernon Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee, and I got him in the business. He had a little short run at wrestling. He sort of like you did, Jimmy, with your buddy there.
It's old Star Maker.
Yeah, Kenny Bolin.
Old Star Maker.
The Star Maker. Wherever we got to a point where we had a little bit of influence, we used that influence to let some of our friends come around and get their little taste of the business. Robert Reed was another guy that grew up on my street, and I put him and Mike Mashburn in the ring a few times there. And
now in all honesty, I do believe that Bolin did a better promo than Robert Reed, but nevertheless,
Yeah.
but no, and I remember it, of course, and Ken Raper, unfortunately last named individual who was there, and as I said, Reed and Raper one time had a big main event match where in a fluke they upset the Assassins for the World Tag Team Championship on TV, which led to shenanigans afterwards.
Yes, absolutely.
But
I think they were champions for about 5 minutes or something.
About 5 minutes, yes. But in that time, Jimmy Hart is running around screaming about Raid and Reaper.
But anyway, yeah, my buddy Mike Mashburn passed away day before yesterday, and so, gosh, with that, and of course Lance Russell, Lance's daughter, all passed away in the past couple of weeks. It's just been, and it's been some sadness around here.
And I think I did an entire episode of my show on Lance, and then replayed an interview that I had been fortunate enough to do when he did the show a couple of years ago, and that one I burbled like a baby, all day over that, because he was the nicest man in the world. But I want to say something to you here, and we can start it here on your show, because I have the followers, the cult of Cornette, but you have the King's Court. Together we can mass armies here.
Yes.
Lance Russell should go somehow or be recognized by the Museum of Broadcasting. Should he not? Is there not some type of local television records that he set that can never be broken in terms of longevity or amount of impressions? I figured out and did mathematics just doing Memphis wrestling, and that show that was later syndicated other places in Kentucky and Tennessee when it was a territory. Over the period of time someone with a pair of ears had heard Lance Russell say "yellow again, everybody" 300 million times.
Right. Exactly.
So we got to get some kind of movement going and have.
Well, of course, we did induct Lance and Dave into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Now I do know that there is, because Dave Brown just got inducted into the Tennessee Broadcasters Hall of Fame, which I didn't, that was the first time I'd heard about that. So that would be great. And then I know that this was a great honor for me. Lance had me come out to Las Vegas and induct Lance into the Cauliflower Alley's Announcers Hall of Fame, so to speak, at that. So, I mean, I know he's gotten a lot of accolades and a lot of awards like that, because I think you'll agree. I mean, to me, and of course it's our own personal opinion, but he was the best. He was without a doubt the best.
Well, and not only was he the best, there was never an announcer more important to the success of a television show, or in that effect, the territory. I don't think Gordon Soley was as important in Florida even. And that may sound like blasphemy to people, in Fort Lauderdale or whatever.
Well, naturally, you're such a fan of who you grew up with, and we all grew up with Lance. And I've said this, 100 times since his passing, but Lance was real. I mean, Lance was not one of these guys that went on. I mean, I dare say that when you talked to Gordon Soley out on the street, he didn't say, "Oh, there's a crimson mask," and it didn't sound the same, But Lance Russell was the same. I mean, because he wasn't a different character when the cameras came on. He was still Lance, and so was Dave Brown, and that was why he was so
he was
relatable.
He was professional by sounding unprofessional.
Right.
But it worked. But I don't think any announcer, was as important to the business of any other wrestling area or promotion than Lance Russell was over that period of time. And it was just because, and Memphis, maybe that's the reason why to some of the people inside the profession, Memphis wrestling was sometimes ha-ha. But in the territory, when you understood how it was presented, that's why 10,000 people a week were coming to see it in Memphis, because it wasn't ha-ha.
Well, and I think that, and over the years, Lance and Dave became, they became like a part of your family. They it was two friends of yours that you invited into your house every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. They stayed for an hour and a half, and they were your buddies and they were your friends. And and I look at it like this. I think that they were so likable and so believable and so a part of people's family that you could not envision either Lance or Dave lying to you.
Yes.
So when Lance and Dave said something, you believed it. So when they were believing in the wrestling, then you believed in the wrestling. And that's why I think Memphis was different from any other wrestling territory in the country. I mean, it was like you said, the people believed here for so long, and it was I think, like you said, a part of that was because of Lance and Dave.
Well, and to be honest, and Dave, who Lance started and saw something in him from the beginning, especially in the Memphis market where Dave was the most popular newsman in town. He was the guy telling parents how to dress their children for school the next day on the news.
And then you remember, we really had to, that was something that we consciously had to protect. We tried from the wrestling end of the business to protect especially Dave's and Lance's credibility on the air. That's why if anybody ever touched Lance, and it only happened a few times, if anybody ever touched Lance, it was a major deal.
And at that time, we talked about it on our show because somebody had put it out on Twitter. When Dream Machine charged it after the alley-oop video.
Yes.
And Dream charged at Lance. He's going to grab him by the lapels. But he did grab him. Well, he's good, but he's coming so fast.
All the way down to the floor.
Yeah, because remember the desks set up on that slidable news desk thing.
Yes.
And it was about a foot high, and Lance's calves, it was like a schoolboy. When Dream grabbed him and he was coming so fast, Lance went right back over at desk, and people thought it was the Kennedy assassination.
Exactly.
Lance is down. Lance is down.
And you could just tell the difference. All of a sudden, Eddie Marlin, that was Lance's favorite line. Can we get some help out here? What in the Sam Hill's going on? And Eddie Marlin would always come running out. But man, if you go back and watch that video when Dream Machine grabbed Lance, when Eddie came out, it was just a different way. When he came out to save Lance, it was different when he came out than when he came out to save one of the wrestlers.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think he was afraid Lance was hot.
Of course we were. But anyway, we're gonna miss him so bad, man.
But it's been great the past few years that he's gotten a chance to see, not only in the times he come back in Memphis or Jackson or Nashville, but like in the Charlotte Fan Fest, a couple of years he was there.
Yes.
And he had a chance to see how people from all over the country and all over the world, have enjoyed his work, which at the first, I was at a couple of the first times he got out like that, and he was still flabbergasted that people remembered and Shane and I talked about this after Lance's service. Lance loved that though. He loved to be recognized. He loved to talk with the fans and interact with the fans, and just to know that he still had fans after all these years. He loved that. It's so amazing. Just last month, like the first week in September, he was sitting in that table right over there. He came right here to the restaurant. Lance and his son Shane and his son Rusty and Rusty's wife, they all came in here, and we sat down. We had lunch, and when Lance had called me earlier in the day and said he wanted to meet me here at the restaurant, I put out a tweet and I said, hey, I'm going to go meet Lance Russell at my restaurant. Anybody that wants to come by and say hi, please do. And there were about like 30 or 40 people that showed up, and Lance was he was just overwhelmed and just so overjoyed that these people would come up and want to have their picture made with him and everything. And it was, that's why it's so surreal to me that he's gone now. I mean, that was just last month. Remember when you wrestled Terry Funk in Jackson? Lance and Dave were both there doing the autograph session and doing the interviews, and I got there early in a special limousine from Star Maker from Louisville, but the line, it was a good crowd that night, and all of you guys and Bill Dundee was there, and etc. But the line was around the inside of the Coliseum there in Jackson, which is just like the little mini Mid-South. Stretched all the way around one side and down the other to meet Lance and Dave first, and then go on to the other folks. It just, it was amazing. And, but yeah.
Well, those are the guys that, the fans got to see. They got to see more of them than they did the wrestlers every single week on TV. But they very seldom ever got to meet them, because Lance and Dave, it wasn't that often that they would go out to the live events. They were just the TV guys. So it was a big deal for the people to get to see Lance and Dave out at one of the towns.
Emailing with you, Jim, I told you, you're being in the restaurant, you got to be cordial. There's people around here. There's little kids around. And
Jim, look at how much he's eaten already. Look at how much Glenn has eaten already. He hated for you and I to stop talking right then, because he's like, I guess I better say something.
Just give me an extra nap, just a roll of paper towels over here.
But anyway, I told Jim you can't be whipping certain parts of your body out at the restaurant.
No, you said the sausage. No, I'm sorry, I misunderstood with the big red spot. Holy Ghost.
I guess we're gonna now. When you were still on your way, probably when you were eating at Wendy's, Jim, Glenn and I were talking about this, whether or not we should delve into what we heard happened recently. And Glenn's all for it, and I'm a little hesitant. I don't know.
Well, it's actually it may have trended on Twitter. It's being called Penisgate.
Oh,
but we won't.
Did you see that lady? You see that lady over there just turn around and go, what?
Earmuffs.
Wait a minute. I thought you told me we had the cone of silence, Chief, over the. So we're broadcasting. No, I was doing a two-man show. The mega powers of podcasting collide in Detroit with myself and young Bruce Prichard, the spry younger brother of Dr. Tom Prichard.
Uh-huh.
And as we were sitting there at our two-man podium, I noticed there were several photographs on a table next to me, and one of them happened to be of a gentleman named Vince Russo. And I held it as Bruce was speaking, and I held it up as I couldn't believe my eyes.
Now, first of all, you're not a big fan of Vince Russo's, are you?
No, Jerry, I couldn't warm up to him if we were cremated together.
Hey, that's my line. Wait a minute.
There you go. Well, see, I'm on your show, so.
Oh, okay.
And I held this
to some of our listeners that may not know who Vince Russo is. I'm probably
almost all of them, hopefully, but
but he was a former writer for the WWE years ago, and I guess basically during the Attitude Era, and he sort of takes responsibility for the great success that the company had during that time. And you're right. I mean, it was successful when he was one of the main writers.
He was a former writer, like Hannibal Lecter was a former orthopedic surgeon. And at any rate,
almost spit out my Diet Coke.
I hold this photograph up, and many people in the audience react to this as if, seeing me, it's like almost like Trump holding up a picture of Obama. These are diametrically opposed gentlemen, or hopefully the other way around. Hopefully I was Obama holding up a picture of Trump. But at any rate, so back to the picture of Vince Russo that I held up, and I stood up, and Bruce saw it, and he said, "Oh, I guess he's on a budget," because he's like, "Corny, don't tear it up," because I was gonna tear it up. He's like,
what were pictures there anyway? What were
he has pictures of certain inflammatory individuals in wrestling that he puts on the table there, and then they're on sticks. And when he does impressions of them on his program, he's the Rich Little of podcasting. He does multiple impressions, and many of them sound the same. It generally sounds like me trying to order a cheeseburger, triple cheese, extra cheese. But at any rate, so he has these things, and he holds them up in front of his face. And he does the thing, and there's the picture, and he don't make Corny, don't tear up the picture.
Right.
And so I put the picture down on the front of the stage, and I was standing over it, and I was attempting to channel Jimmy Valiant doing the dog peeing spot without actually having to get down on my knees, because I can't, because my knees are so bad anymore.
Okay.
So with the right hand, I'm wearing my Cornette face T-shirt, available at jimcornette.com. I'm wearing that, and I'd grab that with my right hand, and with my left thumb, I hook the band of my elegant sweatpants that match the Cornette face shirt. And I'm going to do the quick pull down like I'm going to do it, and then I won't, right? Apparently, the left thumb went a little too far south for just a second. I don't know. Mr. Johnson and the twins could have been available for a brief second.
Oh, my goodness.
If you look close, and I don't really know why everybody's been examining it. So
now, was this being televised, or you just had a live studio audience there?
We're at a bar on a Sunday afternoon in downtown Detroit. Yeah. So
but there is video though.
So people flashing their Johnson is not that big a deal, probably.
It's probably actually, a guy did it to me outside when he sold me some beats for $10. So I gave him $10 because I was parked there, and he saw me get out of my vehicle.
And you got a set of beats from him?
I got it. And then he poured out. He said, "These are magic beads," and it's like.
Beats. I thought you were talking about Beats headphones.
No. He actually, for $10, he's selling people the beads that little girls string together to make necklaces as magic beads. And basically, he's seen where you park, right?
Okay, right.
So you give him the $10. Anyway, so as the Franks and Beans may have been available for just a brief second, I think somebody with a cell phone, but everybody roars, and we sit down and we do the rest of the show, and we do the meet and greet afterwards. Everybody slapping hands and kissing babies, preferably babies between the ages of 18 and 35. And then I go home, and the next day I see on the internet, Cornette exposes genitals at live. Oh my
gosh.
Like I'm that Vincent the Chin Gigante gangster in New York walking around the streets in a bathrobe. And
you're all of a sudden Harvey Weinstein or whatever his name is.
I'm trying to make the feds think I'm crazy to avoid a racketeering charge or something. I don't know what they're talking about.
Man.
So it's Penisgate. And my YouTube channel views, that's actually tinyurl.com/cornyyoutube. for those of you so inclined. Views shot up after that also, even though my genitals are not available at corny YouTube as of this point. We're waiting. We can get a sponsor for that.
Yeah, so I told Jim you're not allowed to do that here in the restaurant.
Yeah, no, not in the restaurant. I'm amazed we even talked about it, but we got it was fairly.
You see here on the lap, because I'm eating a lot of this food and it's good, and I'm going to get all this sugar and syrup on the sweet potato waffle fries all over me here in a second. So on my lap, I have my official Cult of Cornette JC Face burger towel that's going to be available on my website, jimcornette.com, on November 1st. That's where, when you're traveling in the car, you unfurl the burger towel on your lap so you can eat a triple cheese without dripping any of the toppings on your upholstery or your potentially expensive pants.
I like it. That sounds good.
I'm going to sweep the nation. I've been doing
I know your first customer will be Glenn. Look at the mess he's made over there.
Just get up.
Can
we get who's that cute waitress, King? Can we get her to hose him with that?
Do what?
That'd be backwards.
Oh my goodness, this thing has gone south quickly, hasn't it?
Glenn, you're a mess.
Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Jim. Now, and I try to, I've quit. I've just stopped watching all like late night TV shows because they've become so political, as has Facebook and as has now Twitter and everything. And I noticed that you do a lot of political type tweets.
Yes.
Do you not? I mean, are you doing it to try to intentionally tick people off, or is that just?
Yes. Yes, I want to intentionally tick people off because I am so ticked off myself that an obviously mentally unstable real estate fraud.
Wait a minute, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
There you go. Do I want Coco Beware deciding public policy? No, and I've got to the point where I say to myself, if I have to be honest, this is insane. These people are lunatics. We have to alert people. And I want to intentionally tick people off that think like I do, that we cannot let people like this run things.
Yes, you have to let, he's the president. You can't, there's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly.
Nothing you can do about it.
He's the president. That's what scares me to death.
But it happened.
And
what it makes you guys look like, it just makes people look like we're just sore losers and we can't get over it.
No, we need to get over it by 2020.
It's like when my Cleveland Indians and mine and Glenn's Cleveland Indians lost last week to the New York Yankees. I hate the Yankees, but I mean, hey, they lost, and you got to get over it. And say, wait till next year. So wait till the next election, and then
That's it. That's exactly what I'm trying to stir people. In all seriousness, that's exactly what I try to stir people up for, is the next election. So just to try to attempt to see if we can get somebody with a level of reasoning and not have with diagnosed mental disorders in the White House. So that's why I try to stir people up. And King, you better be glad that I stole most of your stuff to make money with, or I'd be even madder at you than I am right now for trying to defend that type of thing.
No, I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just saying that I just think that people like the talk show host on the late night shows. Do they not realize that they're turning off probably over half their audience? That's just say, I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to. Why not just go out and be funny and avoid a topic that is going to turn off half the people? Well, because half the country, it's divided right down the middle. Half the country love the guy, half the country hate the guy, and so why not just avoid that topic and instead of alienating half of your audience?
Here's my theory, as succinctly as I can try to do. So, Glenn, you can go ahead and order another round. And it's probably now it's more like 66-34 now, actually, again, of your audience. But in some people's case, it's become the thing to do. Everybody's got to make topical humor, etc. But in some people's case, especially when I listen to Jimmy Kimmel and guys like that, I think it comes from the same reason why there's all of a sudden so many leaks in government, because people who have been involved in this, close to this, see what's going on, have experience in this, are so profoundly offended at the level of amateurism and shysterism going on that they feel the need to talk about it and report it so people will pay more attention to it. And I like to be in that category because it's the stuff that ticks me off too. And it gives me something else to talk about besides wrestling, because have you seen wrestling lately?
Yes, I have.
Oh, for God's sake.
You know, it's so funny that you mentioned topical, because, you know, when we were doing Raw and SmackDown and everything, that was one of the things that we tried to be. I mean, you know, that was you wanted to be topical to let the people know that it was a live show. If something happened that day, you know, we could talk about it on Raw or whatever in the news and mention it and that sort of thing. But then as the country became more and more politically correct, then it became not cool to talk about topicals.
Well, and there was always some side against whatever you were trying to say anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And now with social media, that side and every side, everybody has a voice now. And, you know, and WWE especially has somebody out there listening to every word that every time WWE is mentioned or anybody in WWE is mentioned. They got somebody, a social media department now that's listening to that. And so everybody's voice is heard. I'd already been demoted. I've already been taken off of Raw and then moved down to SmackDown, then move off to SmackDown to doing the pre-shows. And I was doing a pre-show one night with Scott Stanford, and Scott was growing this beard. It was No Shave November, right? So Scott is growing this beard. And I said, like the first week it was just stubble. Then the second week it was a little more beard. And by the third week, you know, he was pretty hairy. And I looked over and I said, hey, Harambe Face, you better not go to any zoos. I said, you better not go to any zoos with any kids. You're liable to get shot. And I said, right. So apparently. That, you know, I mean, that was in the news, sort of in the news, the gorilla that got shot, Harambe or whatever his name was, right? So I thought that was a topical bit of humor. Oh, my gosh, they wound up pulling the show off the air for that. Like, everybody freaked out. It went all the way. I mean, Vince was doing a live Raw and Triple H and everything, and all of a sudden the social media department said, oh, my God, Jerry Lawler, he's got the animal rights people all upset. I mean, first of all, how is that even offensive to anybody? It was a news event that the poor gorilla got shot because the kid falls in there. His name was Harambe, and all of a sudden Scott Stanford's face looks like a gorilla. I mean, how does that offend anybody? But it apparently did. So you can't be topical anymore.
But you've got gun rights, children's rights, animal rights, ugly people's rights. You've got all the people's.
Hey, fat people rights. Come on.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go. And then the poo flingers, right? But do you remember? And you guys in the '90s, you always did the live Raws when you were doing Raw. But I'm sure you had to go. Did you do it during the period for a little while there where they would do the commentary in the studio in Stamford live over a taped Raw? Did you ever have to do that?
I know. I'm sure. Let me see.
There was a couple of times.
Yes, there were a few times, and we always had to do that over the shows that they shot in overseas for the different shows like that. We always had to do the commentary over a tape show. But I can remember, and I don't remember how this would happen. But somehow Vince and I, this was back when I was doing the commentary with Vince, we would always have to do the opening and closes of the show in the studio in front of a green screen. But I think we actually did the commentary live at the shows. Well,
there was a couple of times, and this is a long way to intro a story, but there was a couple of times where they were trying to be so topical, as you mentioned, and they were trying to compete with when WCW Nitro was live, that maybe during the dog show or whatever it was, that they had to tape a show and show it later, whatever. They did the commentary live over they actually fed the show to USA, the show that had been taped 2 weeks before. And we watched it, and I was color, and I think JR was play-by-play. But we actually did it from 9 to 11 that night as they fed the show to the satellite. We're doing the commentary totally live over a tape. And because they wanted to be topical. And the topical things they came up with was like a Serena Williams beats so-and-so in a tennis match, 24 to, I don't know. Or, right. Man buys used car on corner from stranger. And we're halfway through the show, and that's when I turn to JR. And, I've never enjoyed Kevin Dunn's presence. And I said, you mean to tell me that we couldn't have come in here at 4:00 and done this thing right with any flubs, just do it, and so we could be home with our families now, but it's 10 o'clock at night, and we're sitting here doing this on a fly over a tape and feeding the world because they wanted me to report that Serena Williams beat somebody in a goddamn tennis match.
Oh, man.
That's why
we could talk for years about different things. I remember one night they had me doing one of those round tables, and I think that was the only one I ever had to do because it was so unpleasant. But I think JR was a part of it, and Michael Hayes was a part of it, and it was such a loose thing. I mean, they encouraged the guys to be real comfortable and real at home, and somewhere along the you were allowed to drink. And
I know most of the guys in the wrestling business be real comfortable and at home if they were drinking.
Yeah. So we're sitting around this table, and I think Pat Patterson was, I'm not even sure, but I do know Michael Hayes was definitely there because Michael got a little bit inebriated. And this thing kept going on and on. And as you mentioned, Kevin Dunn was sitting there like directing this thing. And I just looked over at Kevin. And it was obvious that all the stuff that he was saying was never going to be able to be aired. And I'm just looking over at Kevin Dunn like, what are we doing here? It's like after midnight, and this, the babbling is going on that you're not going to be able to use. Please, somebody put a stop to this somehow, So,
as Jerry Clower used to say, just shoot up here amongst
us.
Needs a little relief.
Exactly.
We had a guest on the show a few months ago, and we actually had to call the cops on him here in the restaurant. Can you guess who that is?
Oh, good Lord.
Of course.
Oh, I got a pretty good idea. I think he actually reported his own arrest to the authorities or to the media and then attempted to get the tailgating charge upgraded to sodomy. I want to apologize for the behavior of my fellow Louisvillian, Star Maker Bolin, who
I like the way you took that old joke and reversed it and made it.
You saw what I did there.
Made it topical, yeah.
There you go.
That was the guy's lawyer that used to get a sodomy charge reduced to tailgating. But you reversed it. That was good.
I've still got a couple of them up my sleeve.
But I wanted to ask about Kenny Bolin now. Have you guys had a real falling out?
Oh, good Lord. I have not. I'm just because we're old friends and nobody else is really listening by this point. Oh, shut up, Glenn. I know you're listening. I've never knocked Star Maker, and I have a disagreement of a couple of issues. We have, and I've not commented publicly on it, but he blocked me on Twitter. He did that. And
what?
That's what, I remember in the old days in the wrestling industry, in the locker room, if people had trouble behind the scenes, they hit each other with tire irons or cut each other with knives or razor blades. He blocked me on Twitter.
Oh.
We have a disagreement about the intelligence level of his son. He puts it somewhere around.
Son.
is somewhere around John Glenn, and I put it somewhere around non-existent.
I thought you were going to say Donald Trump. You would have had there was a good spot right there.
Well, I didn't want to go back to the politics.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've tried. We have differences of opinions of a few things. That he fired himself off my podcast on Twitter.
Now, who is his son?
Remember Catbox Bolin? Kid with the big head.
Catbox Bolin.
Well, we named him that when he was a teenager because he was living in Kenny's house in the basement rent free if he emptied the cat box that he slept next to. So he earned on my show the name Catbox Bolin.
I thought maybe you named him that because every time when he was a kid he played in the sandbox, the cats kept covering him up.
we couldn't be so lucky. But anyway, nevertheless, so I hope that one day Star Maker and I can reconcile our differences as soon as he unblocks me on Twitter and as I mentioned, he fired himself off of my show. He was a frequent guest where I allowed him to perpetrate his various schemes, but he fired himself off my show on Twitter because he got mad at my podcast for telling him that people didn't like hearing his kids on his podcast. And it just spiraled out of control from there.
You made him cry. He was live streaming on Facebook, and you made him cry, legit cry.
I maintained the thought that he had hired someone to secrete themselves underneath his desk, and they were pushing 10-penny nails into his toes.
Oh God!
At the time of that, in order to get the much like Tojo Yamamoto would, taking toothpicks and putting them under his toenails.
Hey, can listen? Let me ask you this. I'm wondering if we can try to do something on the fly here. I just looked down at my phone, and Jim, we have this match coming up this coming Saturday over in Jonesboro, Arkansas. That's going to be the first time that me and Tommy Rich and Austin Idol have been in like the same building since the time they pulled me unceremoniously into the ring post.
Oh, yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, so that's going to be this Saturday night. And somehow, apparently Austin Idol was on a Memphis radio station the other day and said some not too pleasant things. And I've just gotten a text message from Austin Idol who says, Glenn, that you apparently had scheduled him to be on this podcast today to call in.
Oh,
and then he says,
Glenn?
He says, if you want me on your stupid podcast, I have 20 minutes. No, he says, I have a lunch engagement in 20 minutes. So, question mark.
Well, I passed the number to you, King, the call-in number. I mean, if you want to give him the number to call in, he's more than welcome to. We can, have Jim on. We can have Austin on. We can have you on, me on. I mean, it's possible.
Well, yeah, it can be an equal opportunity gab fest here.
Oh, my
For the Universal Throb, Austin Idol.
There you go, Bruce Prichard doing it.
I'm Bruce Prichard now doing Austin Idol, darling, to come in here and drag you from post to post to post to I'm talking post, Lawler.
Yeah, is that the way Bruce Prichard does it? He'll just all of a sudden break that into another voice? Yeah,
it sounds nothing like the person, just uses their material in some brief inflection.
I remember that one time he used to love to tell the story when they had when Jerry Jarrett first started coming up there and working for Vince, and I guess they were flying on the plane, and Vince told Jerry, I don't know, that he could use his phone, that the phone would work, and so then Bruce would start doing. Apparently, Jerry called his wife Deborah, and then Bruce would do the Jerry Jarrett voice, and I can't even do Jerry Jarrett voice, but anyway, he said, Deborah, guess where I'm calling from? An airplane. So I remember he would love to tell that story. But anyway,
Bruce actually, hey, he has a catalog of that. I wind him up often, reminding him of certain people's success, but he defends his position as a personal dislike.
All right. Well, listen, I've just texted this number to Austin Idol. So that's your number, Glenn?
That's the mobile studio number. So he'll be patched in. If he calls that number, he'll be patched into the conversation here at the table.
Yeah, where are you? Are you at a mobile studio in Switzerland or Zurich or?
I'm sitting here with you.
Where do you emanate from?
The mobile studio. A lot of times Glenn emanates from Cleveland, but we got him down here with us today. But then that phone that he's got there, that other little mobile phone, is that still a flip phone, Glenn?
Oh, no. Come on, King. No, look at you losing your phone overseas. I'm not the one, with here we go. The hotline's lighting up.
Oh, brother. This could be good, Jim.
It says Las Vegas. Oh, here we go.
Oh, well, who else could it be then?
Of course. You're on the line on Dinner with the King podcast, and we have interrupted this podcast because we have the illustrious Jim Cornette on here with us right now, too. So, but I saw that you sent and said that you have a dinner and a luncheon engagement in 20 minutes. So
luncheon. You know what that is, right? A luncheon engagement. It's like a business lunch.
Oh,
it's a business lunch.
Yeah. I see.
Is there heat?
We don't have the.
Is there heat here? I can feel it already. There's tension in the air.
Well, what's changed? What would you expect?
Yeah.
What would you expect? Jimmy?
Let me tell you this, Jim.
Well,
Jim Cornette has joined us here at our restaurant.
No, Jerry, you're stuttering. I just heard it. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
King, let me just say that the last time that I saw Austin Idol, he physically assaulted me, struck me with a piece of sporting equipment believed to be a tennis racket that he had taken from my own hand in Madison, West Virginia on behalf of the Rock and Roll Express, and we have actually not communicated except through legal representation still since then, but I'm willing to let bygones be bygones.
Well, I'm not, and I'm not. And in response to that, you said I physically assaulted you. Did you enjoy it?
What the?
No, I'm an old person with many ailments, and you contributed to the decline of my physical condition, possibly for the rest of my life. So I did not enjoy it, sir.
Now
I don't know. Maybe are you a masochist?
I'm not a Mexican.
Let's get it all. Listen, we all know each other for God's sakes. How long? Come on. We've all been in the trenches. So, man, we might as well get it all out there. Okay, Jerry, you want to say something, so it's your show. So.
Well, I just wanted to say that I told Jim before you called in that we have this match coming up Saturday night over in Jonesboro, Arkansas. That it's going to be the first
Idleboro, Idleboro, Arkansas. Excuse me, Idleboro, Arkansas.
Idleboro.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
Idleboro.
so it's
a much classier name.
Make an appearance there. But this is going to be the first time.
It should be renamed, and to class it up, it's a pigsty little town. I mean, come on, Jerry. I mean, seriously, Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Now, you haven't been there in a long time. This is a college town now. Arkansas State University's over there, and its town has grown by leaps and bounds, and it's a nice city.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how Vince McMahon used to get mad when you call something a town? It's a city.
Population's up to 1,000 now. Great. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. I'm buying
it. But anyway,
okay.
this Saturday night, you and Tommy Rich and myself are going to be in the same building at the same time. This is the first time that we're going to be in the same building since the for me at least, bad memories. And we talked on your podcast not too long ago, and you said you don't have any bad memories of that night at the Mid-South Coliseum. And I can understand that. It was a good night for you. You won. You guys shaved my head. You pulled my legs into the ring post. So that was a pleasant night for you. But for me, it's been bad memories for a long, long time. So I just thought that, when we talked on your podcast, you said you don't harbor any ill will or ill feelings from that day. And so that this event is like a homecoming, a little reunion over in Jonesboro. And you suggested that you might even be in my corner. But then I heard that you were on a radio station in Memphis here just the other day, and you said totally opposite. You said some very disparaging things about me and what was going to happen in Jonesboro this Saturday night. Is that true?
Well, there's a lot of truth to a lot of things, but first of all, let me respond to this radio interview I did with these two morons. Morons. I'm serious. I'm morons. I agreed to go on that live radio interview at 11:25 Central Standard Time. They called me about 11:30. That's 5 minutes of my time I've wasted waiting for these idiots.
I bet
And
you had
then
a lunch.
finally, when I answer the phone, I have to listen to all this ridiculous babble. Jimmy, you know, babble. I have to listen to this ridiculous babble because they're talking about 5-card trivia and whatever, and it was just absolute nonsense. And I had somewhere to be, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to hold. I agreed to do the thing. I'm going to sit here, and 5-10 minutes goes by, and these two jerks are still babbling. They're playing footsies with each other. I don't know. They've got their cheerleader dresses on, their little headphones on, and their little cover hole. But regardless of the fact, by the time I got on, which seemed like it was forever, I was definitely not a happy camper. I mean, time is precious. I don't know about you, but I mean, I like to really utilize my time in a positive and effective way. They were killing my day. I got on there and I was angry, very, very angry. Yeah, I said a lot of things. And I don't take anything back because things that are in the past, things are in the rearview mirror, they're gone. And you have to get over them. Jerry, you got to get over them. You
That's
still
what I
can't
was just
get
telling
over the hand match.
about the election, but everybody can't get over everything.
Hey, wait, don't drag me into this.
Well, you're right. Well, no one's dragging you anywhere. You're not going to be, or you might be drugged, but we're not going to drag you.
Well,
Jimmy,
I just offered to let bygones be bygones with you, and you told me to be eviscerated with a rusty fishing knife. So I'm waiting to see what the king has to say to you.
Well, first of all, let me ask you something. Jim, are you going to be at this event?
I know I'm not. That's once again, I don't have a dog.
Why is that? Why are you not?
Branch to you. And why is it? Because nobody asked me, to be quite honest with you. But also,
Jim, I think that if you thought about this for just a few seconds, you would know that the Austin Idol has just said what a little small podunk town Jonesboro is, and the K-Fine radio station, they're putting this together, and you know that if they've paid the exorbitant appearance fee that Austin Idol demanded, that they can't afford anybody else to be on the show.
Well, that makes thing. Because, but once again, depending on how much he was able to jack out of them, with his who shot John tales of gloriosity, the question remains, that once again now I've been offended here. So King, I'm actually starting to see your side of the argument.
Okay. Oh, stop it! Stop it! You're pandering. Hey, Jimmy, you're pandering. He's got enough guys kissing his.
It's very
Bowler's got enough guys kissing his butt. Why are you going to add to the list? You don't have to kiss anybody's butt. And listen, go back to this agreement that I made. Brandon Baxter's who wanted to reach out to me, and called back. I said no. He called back. I said no. And then finally, we came to terms on money. I said, yeah, you fly me in, you put me up at the Peabody, I'm staying at the Peabody, and you pay me X. And I said, okay. And then we had a little faux pas, a little bump in the road through an email, and it kicked me off. And I canceled it. I canceled the agreement. I said, I'm not going.
Imagine that.
A few days later, I get a call from somebody, and the somebody knows who the somebody is, and the somebody said, look, come on, man, come on, do this thing. And I said, okay, I'll do it. There. I wasn't going to go. Honestly, I don't need the freaking money, man. I left wrestling, and I never looked behind. I invested in real estate for 15 solid friggin' years. I bought and sold over 500 properties. Anybody who knows me knows this is gospel, man. I saved my money. I invested my money. I reinvested and reinvested and reinvested. And now, I really don't need to work. I don't get that many calls, and that's probably why, because they know I ain't going to go down the road for $200 freaking.
But so your fans want to see you in person. Doesn't it personally gratify you as an individual?
Both of them.
Yes, they had a meeting in the phone booth, if there are still such a thing. And they said, please, we'd love to see Austin Idol somewhere.
We've come a long way since then. Well, I'm going to go to lunch at a country club here. It's called The Cliffs at Glassy Mountain. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Going to play some golf. have a very light, nutritious. Hello, if anybody cares about nutrition.
Say, where's my second Big Red Splash?
Yeah, I'm throwing up flags. I don't care what they are. Have a light lunch, a little salad, maybe a little protein to keep that stomach kind of light, and go out and play a few rounds. When I go golfing, I always wear 2 pair of pants.
Why is that?
In case I make a hole in one.
Hey, Jerry, if he stays at Peabody,
here's the reason Jim and I don't play golf. Because our stomachs are so big, if we put the ball where we can hit it, we can't see it. And if we put it where we can see it, we can't hit it.
That sounds like Larry Curly Moe, right? Well, I can play Moe. I'll play whoever.
If he's staying at the Peabody, I think you better tell him to count the ducks before he leaves. Just a thought.
Count the ducks, a duck counter. That's what I'm doing in life. Be a duck.
Duck counter.
Duck counter. What do you do for a living? I'm a duck counter. Oh, great. Okay. You want to explain that one? No, let Jerry Lawler and Jim Cornette explain it. They know that all about that.
That's only for the folks in Memphis.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
So Saturday night, you're standing by all of those things you said on that radio station, and so that's what I got to look forward to Saturday in Jonesboro or Idleboro.
I don't think any of us know what we have to look forward to. We may not even make the Saturday. We're hoping we're going to make the Saturday. Well, listen, I'm not being negative, but I'm being honest. Tomorrow's promised to no one. I believe I'll be there. Okay. I'm healthy. Oh, wow. I'm a healthy dude at the gym 6 days a week, eating nutrition it's all good. So, yeah, listen, well, let's see what happens when we get there. There's a lot. I know there's a lot out there on social media saying, Idle's going to turn on Lawler, and Lawler's going to throw fire at everybody, and they're going to call the fire department, and Tommy Rich will be hiding somewhere with a case of Bud. I don't know. All I know is I agreed to be there. And I agreed to do this podcast, Jerry, because we had a deal. We had a deal, and you said, look.
Podcast, and you said you would do mine. What happened to your podcast? You stopped.
Yes.
I was your last guest.
Yeah, I quit. I didn't stop. I quit. It's the same. I quit. I said, yeah, that's enough. I did it 6 months or whatever. It was nice. It was good, but enough's enough. Yeah, Ganuk is Ganuk, as they say in Israel. Ganuk is Ganuk. Enough's enough. So yeah, I
had one more after mine because it makes it look like I put you out of business.
Well, hey, you put a lot of people. Hey. I think you could ask a lot of guys who went through the Memphis wrestling Mid-South. They probably agree to that. Well, yeah, he put me out of business. Yeah, I couldn't come back. Stan Hansen still blames me that I fired him. I didn't fire anybody. I wasn't in the position to fire anybody. But I'm glad you did.
No lie. I'll never forget. You said, if you ever book us against Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody again, we'll quit the business.
Yeah. But that's okay with you. That's it. Yeah, he almost killed me. But, oh, no, that's okay. You don't harbor anything. I'm not supposed to harbor anything. No, that's all good. Yeah. Oh, you guys.
All right, we'll let you get to your business luncheon. What are you guys talking? What's the business today that you're discussing?
Real estate. Real estate.
Oh.
Yeah, you do real estate. I know you had a big palatial mansion up there, but certainly you're I know you're a smart guy with your money. You saved every penny. You never spent any of it, so you've got invested well, correct?
I'm not a big investor. I'm a cash is king guy.
There you go, baby. It's critical. Listen, right before the big dive in 2008, I had a lot of property down in Florida, and I smelled a rat, and I don't claim to be a Donald Trump guy, but I had a lot of property, and I noticed things were slowing down. They were softening up, and I thought, God, something's got to be wrong here. I didn't have any idea what was going to happen. The house of cards collapsed, but I just followed my gut instinct, and I sold out, man. I sold everything I had. What happens? Bang. Everything goes south.
Yep.
I'm glad I did it.
You probably caused it. You caused it, for heaven's sake. When a portfolio of that size, of that magnitude, with it was being just dissolved, you single-handedly triggered the crisis. Idiot.
So it's my fault, right?
Like Scrooge McDuck cashing out all at once. What in the world were you thinking?
You have spent too much time in your attic, Jim Cornette. You have to come down from the attic.
He still
Really
reads Scrooge McDuck comic books.
It's a bell tower. Believe me, it's a bell tower.
The bell tower. The brain is your brain is tickling. It's tickling.
All right,
Southern, you know.
We're going to let you get to your business luncheon, and we will see you Saturday, October 21st, I believe. Or is it 21st or 22nd? What is this Saturday?
Yes, it's at the Ring Your Bell Community Center, right? Ring Your Boy. That's a classy name. Ring Your Bell, classy. Yeah. What is it?
Earl Bell.
Ring Your Bell, whatever. Community Center. How many people does that place hold?
About 3,000.
Oh, it's a nice building then. Good.
Yes,
well, we should sell out.
Well,
We'll sell out.
Yes,
If we get Jim Cornette on the card.
are you implying you wouldn't sell out a crummy building?
I'll sell out, period. Hey, listen, anybody who really knows me, they know I will sell out.
You will sell out.
He's called Sellout Idol for a reason, folks.
Sell out, Idol.
Can we get Eddie out of here?
Okay, guys, I really appreciate this quality time. It's been enlightening, illuminating, and it's just changed my whole attitude about life. And I'm turning over a new leaf now, and I think from this day forward, I'm going to become a lot worse.
There'll probably be more of this frivolity Saturday night in Jonesboro, Idleboro.
Well, you know, Cornette said something about magnitude or earthquake, or what'd you say, Jimmy? Magnitude, earthquake,
the
magnesium.
magnitude of your portfolio, the size of your package is what I was talking about. That you
too much time in the attic. Physical assault.
We've already talked
Enjoyment.
about
Jim Cornette is a masochist. Get it out there.
All right, we'll let you go, Idol. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
And there he goes.
Thanks for going, Idol. We
Come back again when you can't stay so long. Oh, was he still on? Excuse me.
No, he was. He was gone. He was gone. Don't worry. He was
Good.
gone.
Well, he'll never listen to the show, so there's no reason to think that he would ever know what we just
He'll
said on
never
the
know
air.
what we say about him after he's gone.
Because he wants to use his time in a quality way.
Yeah, he'll be at a
Quality.
business luncheon.
He doesn't want to dwell on the past. This will be past by the time he hears it.
Exactly.
Oh,
So now that's.
I'd like to thank both of you for pulling me into that.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
Be abused and mistreated.
kind of like you.
Oh,
and,
the
kind
idol.
of like you and Santino.
Oh, good God. No.
Hey, listen. Here's somebody that you can enlighten me on. We've got another show now. That show is Saturday night, but on Thursday night, which what is today is as we're sitting here. Today is Tuesday. This Thursday night, right down on Beale Street, Handy Park, we're going to have an event. And it's absolutely free to the public. All summer long, they've been doing concerts down there at Handy Park every Thursday night. So the concert series has ended. So we're picking things up, and we're going to do a wrestling series. So this Thursday night, we're starting things off with we're going to have Superstar Bill Dundee there, Grandmaster Sexy Brian Christopher there. We're going to have Coco Beware there. Dangerous Doug Gilbert's going to be there. 5-star Dustin Starr, me, and I'm going to be taking on one of your favorites of all time, Jim Cornette, Buff the Stuff Bagwell.
Oh, my gosh. The buffer stuffer.
What was the deal with Buff down at WCW? How did he?
Well,
did he? What happened with him there?
I was not there at the same time.
You
weren't?
weren't?
I was not. I was not down there when he was there. I know he was a member of the NWO at one point, which is sort of like being one of the walkers on The Walking Dead season 4. At one, there was a lot of them. No, but Buff and I are fine. I don't know of any particular heat with Buff, although I have spoken to Buff at recent fan fest and events where I've seen him, and it is true that he was moonlighting, or possibly it could have been his main occupation, and he was moonlighting as a wrestler over the recent few years as a male gigolo.
A gigolo, yeah. He was actually on a TV show doing a reality show.
Called Gigolo?
As a gigolo, yes. And I just saw a recent picture of him from yesterday, as a matter of fact, and his hair is blacker than Bill Dundee's, and I didn't think that was humanly possible.
It's so black lightning bugs follow him around in the daytime. It is really dark. And yes, but I think it's because of the amount of testosterone that a genetic jackhammer like that produces.
I see.
I'm here on the cowboysforangels.com website. And,
are you not? Oh, you are?
And there is...
He just immediately got it. We've just said this like 20 seconds ago. He immediately knew how to get there.
I'm very quick.
Cowboys for Angels.
This is the website, Marcus Bagwell. He has his rates up here. Now, can you guys guess if you want to, well, quote unquote, rent Marcus Bagwell for 2 hours? How much that will cost you?
That's not. It's hire. Come on, you don't rent It would be hiring him. Let's not disrespect this.
Well, I mean, are you serious now? There is such a thing.
Oh,
Is it like a gigolo rate?
I'm looking at it right here, King. Yeah, I got a 2-hour rate, a 4-hour rate, overnight rate, a per day rate, a weekend rate, and a weekly rate.
No way.
No, this has been on the internet, and he's talked about this.
Yeah. So. How much?
I can't believe you haven't heard about this, King.
I've not heard. I can't believe I'm gonna wrestle him Thursday night, and I don't know if I want to touch him now.
I can't believe that you don't heavily traffic, as your co-host does, the male gigolo site.
Now, come on. Now, okay. Now, for a weekly rate,
you think Glenn's a regular on here?
Well, he just had it just like that. But go ahead. What's the rate, Glenn? You can quote. Does he give you a discount? Do you have the card? Where do you get the?
He's got a punch card.
I get the.
every time Bagwell shows up at his house, he punches the card, and then he punches Glenn.
This is not Subway, guys. Jesus.
Hey, lady, if you didn't want to bring your kid in here to hear this, then you shouldn't have come in when you saw my face.
Now, Now I'm gonna. You guys guess for a week. For Marcus Bagwell.
Let's start it. We can't afford him for a week. Let's start out with the hourly rate.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't.
Well, he doesn't do an hour. He does 2 hours.
What's 2 hours?
That's the minimum.
Oh, well,
that's the minimum.
That's bragging right off the bat, isn't it, Jim? 2 hours. All
right, 2 hour rate. Can you guys give an educated guess?
Oh, good Lord! I'll start $400.
All right.
Oh no, he's got to be more. I'll say $2,000. I'll say it's $1,000 an hour.
Well, $800 for 2 hours.
Jesus. Well, I was just thinking of his independent rate, because he'd have to sit at some stinky independent show for 2 hours at least. So
All right. So it's $800 for 2 hours. Does it get cheaper or more expensive?
That's very, very more expensive.
Very more.
Can you now guess let's go for the week. If you want him for a whole week, how much would that set you back? Can you give a guess?
I have to know the details of that. I mean,
okay, if he
come and stay at your house or what? He got to be paying you.
You got to feed him.
I was about to say, is he eating out of the refrigerator? Or does he come with supplies?
He brings a suitcase and a cooler. Goes up to the front door.
He's just hanging out.
It's like I'll be here for the next 7 days.
Jerry, what would if he'd have gone to Japan for a week in 1983? What would Baba have paid him?
Oh my gosh! In 1983, probably for a week, maybe $15,000.
But not Bagwell or Hansen? Are we back talking about Stan Hansen now?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Okay, Glenn? What's his weekly rate?
$25,000.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Baba just turned over in his grave.
$25,000. If you want him for the week, for the weekend, it's $8,000. Per day is $4,500. Overnight, $3,000. A 4-hour rate is $1,500. So there's Marcus Bagwell's rates.
Does it say when his next available week is? He's probably now into the winter time.
It doesn't give his calendar. Doesn't give his next appearance.
Hey, now you realize I just saw Bagwell here not too long ago. I can't even be around Buff Bagwell anymore because of you people. He'll yell at me now.
Yes, he will.
I don't problems with Buff.
I'm sure he's going to be irate over this coming Thursday night. But Thursday night, anybody listening and you want to see Buff Bagwell and inquire about his rates, he's going to be wrestling me at Handy Park. And you know what? That's free. You're going to get to be around Buff Bagwell and you won't even have to pay the high prices.
You're going to get your money's worth with Buff Bagwell if you get in for free.
And then listen.
No, go ahead and say it. Everybody's going to come to see Jerry Lawler beat the crap out of Buff Bagwell rather than come to see Buff Bagwell. Joe, let's just go ahead and admit it. Let's be open about it, Jerry, because as you said one time about a certain individual, somebody on Memphis television, he's a preliminary wrestler, and now he's getting a chance to be in the main event because he's facing the King. Ooh. That's exactly what he's doing. He's facing the King. That's the reason why he's in the main event. When he faces somebody else, he's in a preliminary match because that's where they put preliminary wrestlers. Is that not right?
Well, now I don't even have to cut the promo because Cornette just did it for me. That's perfect. Thank you, Jim. Hey, and afterwards, you're going to have the. You know what? The show is going to be at 7:00. Absolutely free. Handy Park, great venue. It's going to be all lit up and everything. Come on down, and the show will probably go about an hour and a half, something like that. Then big meet and greet right afterwards at King Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill, which is just right around the corner there, and it's going to be a big time Thursday night. Glenn, you going to come back down for that?
I'm hoping to come back down, maybe.
And Jerry, do you still at the place on Beale, which I highly recommend? Yes. You still got the gumbo, right, on the menu?
We have the gumbo. We have my favorite, and you didn't try it last time, but my favorite is the crawfish corn chowder.
Well, no, I'm willing to go for anything, and we might actually after I finish this second Big Red Splash, we ought to drop by there and have something to eat. But the gumbo at Jerry the King Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill on Beale Street is the only thing that my father-in-law has ever liked.
Really?
He doesn't like anything. I'm not just talking food. He doesn't like anything. But in the way of food, we have taken him to some of the finest restaurants over several state area. His favorite remains a truck stop near his home. But we have fed him numerous things from fine, successful chefs and restaurants and facilities across the southeastern United States, and he has found something wrong with everything except the tri-tip from Costco, or is it Sam's Club, and the gumbo at Jerry the King Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill on Beale Street. It was amazing. He asked for a second bowl.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, Jerry, how long did it take to recover from Kenny Bolin's visit? Did the food supply run out for the week?
Yeah, we had to call out. We had to kill a couple more hogs for the.
Well, is that where that truckload of cows that overturned in Nashville the other day was headed to restock your place
after the Bolin visit? Yes.
After the Bolin roll through.
Listen to you being topical again. That's great.
Well, you see, but we didn't have to. We didn't have to do it live at 9:00 on Monday night in Stamford, Connecticut, an hour away from my home.
With Kevin Dunn breathing down your neck.
Yeah. And Jim, she won by 21-7.
Don't start making fun of Kevin Dunn. I still work for Kevin Dunn.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. Some of these crosses we still must bear.
I'm going to tell you, I swear to you, and I mean, you probably find this surprising. I have always had a great relationship with Kevin Dunn. I mean, I've never had one. I've never had a problem with anybody there, and I've just been real fortunate. 24 years I've been there, and never.
I will not tell any negativity of Kevin Dunn stories on your program, but I will tell you a Jim Ross story. He said to Kevin Dunn one time, in attempting to explain how that I felt about Kevin Dunn, JR said he feels like you treat him like the guy that runs the Ferris wheel at the county fair. Which was pretty much a quote of mine. And then he had to explain to Kevin, who was a northerner, that those people at the county fair were usually not the most trustworthy, competent, intelligent, etc.
Right.
And the humor of the line did not quite translate. It was that northern southern thing.
Yeah, I get it. But Yeah, I get along real well with Kevin, and he tells me all the time my favorite line, or his favorite line, or yeah, it was his favorite line that I used one time on the show. I don't know what was going on, but somehow in commentary I just said out of the blue to JR, I said, "I'm losing the will to live." I think somebody was cutting one of those long promos or something, at the beginning of Raw, and I don't know where it came from, but I just said, "I'm losing the will to live." And Kevin Dunn said, "Oh my gosh, I almost lost it," because I could relate to that so well right there. Oh. It was what he wanted to say. But anyway, listen, Glenn, you can't have three big splashes.
I'm choking on a bone here. I'm filled up to the brim of my stomach capacity.
We don't want to hear about your brim. And I'm pretty fed up myself at this point. I'll tell you that, fella.
Before we wrap it up, King, I know you say you still work for WWE. Do you know your next appearance? There's a pay-per-view coming up. You going to do the pre-show for that one or no?
You know what? I don't know. They call me almost at the last minute. I'm just like the go-to guy when they think of me, or when they don't have anybody. If somebody gets sick, or like when Booker T, they had the floods in Houston, and then I think Rosenbaum or whatever that guy's name is, he got sick or something.
Rosenberg.
What is it?
I think it's Rosenberg.
Rosenberg. Okay. Yeah. He got sick.
You're like FEMA. They just send you in when there's a disaster.
Yes, I'm the disaster relief. But anyway, it's good to still be on the payroll. I love them.
Aren't you going to ask me where I'm going to be next?
Hey, what happened? I just saw that Glenn came back, that Kane showed back up. Have they already had the election?
Oh, no, he's still running.
How is that even possible? Why would he? I mean,
that's a good way to get votes.
Well, it's publicity.
Yeah.
But they're not going to say, "Oh, here's Kane." Stay tuned for the election next week, folks. Go out and vote for Kane. I mean, he's not going to get any pub from WWE for this. I mean, then they bring him back a couple weeks before the election. His opponent could be like, "Look, I'm going to be running for mayor against Glenn Jacobs. I'm here in Tennessee, running this town." And then you have this guy dressed up with a mask with fire. Do you want that? Do you want that for a mayor?
I would think that people would probably actually know that if he was the mayor, he wouldn't do that, wouldn't you think? I mean,
if I was his opponent, I would be saying, "This is what you can expect when he becomes mayor." But you know what? I was always so surprised. I was always so surprised that that Hillary Clinton and them didn't use, all the stuff that Donald Trump did with wrestling more. Than they didn't use that at all. But I mean, now just recently it became a deal with them. They put the CNN logo over all those the stuff and everything, and put that out on social media. But I was just surprised that during the election they didn't really try to cast him in a worse light, by using all the footage of him beating up Vince and all of that kind of stuff, Yeah,
but actually, when you think about it, he was the baby face at the time that people were cheering for him. It may have made him look too popular. And that's the thing. People say, well, at least he beat up Vince McMahon, or maybe Vince would be president. then we'd all have to work 18 hours a day. They'd send us to the salt mines if Vince was president. You must work. Sleep is the enemy, pal.
Listen, Jim, do you have anything coming up? Anything you want to?
Yes, I actually there's an arraignment in about 10 days.
Arraignment?
No, I guess I shouldn't have started with that schedule on that paper. No, actually, I am going to be at WrestleCade Thanksgiving weekend in Winston-Salem.
Hey, me too.
Yes, you're going to be there. Well, there you go. We're both going to be, and there's going to be a Midnight Express reunion. Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane on Saturday at the Fan Fest. Saturday night, I'm going to manage Dan Severn, Dan the Beast Severn, UFC Hall of Famer, Triple Crown champion, the most decorated amateur or professional athlete that the United States has ever produced overall. Look it up. Amazing record. I'm going to be managing him, and that will be my hors d'oeuvre match, or my adieu match.
Oh, please don't say no. That's not true.
I've said it unless you need help sometime.
Oh, okay, there you go. See,
you need help sometime. I figure after 35 years, here's the deal. It used to be that I went out there and I hurt other people and laughed at the fans about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to the age where now I'm going to go out there, hurt myself, and the fans are going to laugh at me about it. So I'm saying a cautious retirement. It's not going to be a Terry Funk. It might not be a Jack Briscoe. I always admired his retirement. He told his brother Gerald, they just on this horrible WWF tour, they fly into Newark, New Jersey at the airport. It's a snowstorm, and they're stumbling around in the parking lot, trying to find their rental car to go to Binghamton, New York, or whatever. And Jack looked at Gerald and he said, "Gerald, I'm going back in that airport. I'm on the next plane headed south, and I'm done." And he never wrestled again.
Wow.
I always admired that, but at the same time, you know,
That don't happen very often.
that don't happen very often. But anyway, yeah, so I'll be at wrestling. And then Sunday morning, they're having a Smoky Mountain Wrestling themed Q&A with Bullet Bob Armstrong, Dutch Mantell, Dr. Tom Prichard, Bobby Fulton of the Fantastics, myself, obviously, Bobby Blaze, the man who beat you for the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Heavyweight Championship once upon a time.
Bobby Blaze. So I was the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Champion at one time, right?
It made such an impression on your career that you list that immediately as one of your top accomplishments.
Well, I've won so many championships. 168 championship matches I've won. So I can't
feel
remember.
like a one-night stand now. You had the belt for a month. Come on, King.
I was like the Robert Reed and Ken Raper of Smoky Mountain. Well, this has been fun, guys.
Yeah,
I really have.
blast.
I mean, I think I've laughed more and enjoyed this podcast more than anyone that we've done.
You know what, Jim? I'm really surprised because people have been tweeting at the show, you know, saying that we're going to need the censor button. Put my finger on the censor button, the bleep button. But you have not said a swear word this whole time.
The thing is, they told me that beforehand that my headset was electrified, and if I did cuss and I would get a jolt, it could potentially render me impotent for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I took my dog collar and turned it into your head.
It really worked, but we haven't had to shock you yet.
Yeah, well, I didn't stray outside the invisible line.
Jim, you going to be at Starrcade?
Probably not. Actually, no, I'm going to be managing Dan Severn over there at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem with the card. This starts at 5 o'clock, so actually, I don't know. Technically, people might be able to do both or see a percentage of both. I recommend coming to ours first and then going from there.
How do you feel about WWE bringing back War Games and Starrcade and all these WCW glory names?
Oh, well, I thought they should have done War Games from the very first. I think that's one of the greatest gimmick matches that that consistently worked anywhere it was presented, even when almost nothing else was working. War Games worked. And one of the things that we did a long time ago, Jim, that I'm surprised that they've never used, and they could still do it. They could still do it anytime. Was the 2-ring triple chance battle royal? Yeah, and I think that probably is another thing that they think won't translate well to television is why they don't do that. They've never done multiple ring matches, even when it was something like a War Games.
Oh, really?
And that's what I always heard. And I mean, who knows? But I think that yes, they should try those concepts because there's not a lot that people haven't seen these days, unless you branch out into the realm of complete foolishness, right?
And they've seen that too.
And they've seen a lot of that too. And there you go. And and with Starrcade, it was huge in Greensboro. I don't know why they haven't done it before. I used to, as Rick Rubin told me one time when we were discussing whether to play music on Smoky Mountain Wrestling TV programs or not. And I said, do we need to pay or what do we need to do to play all these guys' music? He said, I make rap records. We take other people's music and sell it. Just do it until somebody says don't do it. And then nobody ever said don't do it for 4 years. We were on television. But I think that I would immediately have owned, or if I owned Starrcade, I would have used it in Greensboro in some way around the Thanksgiving holiday before. So I think a pay-per-view would be in order, even if It was just a themed thing. Well, there is no pay-per-view anymore, but a big event just centered around the theme of that tradition. They own all those library of matches. I'm booking their network for them now, but why not do a Starrcade themed pay-per-view mixing live matches with the history of from Flair and Race for the NWA title to the Skywalkers to the WCW era to the blah, blah, blah. They own it all. It sells their product. Just if they do it, I want 10% now.
There you go. And that's wait. How much is the tip? You know what's the great thing about this place?
Wait a minute. I took that cash there. I thought you meant that for me for my parking.
Here's the thing about first of all, there's free parking outside here, and second of all, you don't have to tip. You guys, we placed our order and we came and sat down at the table, and then they called our name. We went up and got our food within 4 minutes. That's our thing here. We pride ourselves on 4 minutes from the time you order.
I didn't even pay attention. It was so quick. I just didn't even think about it.
That's what she said.
And then you don't have to tip. So that saves 20% right there. Well, Glenn, of course, in Glenn, that's a 5%.
7%. Come on.
7%.
But also, I'm really, it's gratifying, King, to see how generous you are with your employees, also in the employment plan you got going on here, and how happy your workers are. And that row of cots in the back that they get to sleep on, those things are spotless. Spotless.
And
I'm telling you.
And that guy with the whip in the corner is really good for the store morale.
Why is it that
everybody just thinks he's a wrestler, so it works well.
Why is it that
next
to each cot there's not only a set of handcuffs but a leg spreader bar? I'm just trying
to. What does that mean? Wow. Okay, get the censor button ready.
All right. Hey guys, thanks very much. I appreciate you having me, and also I will be more than happy to promote my appearance on this event so that you will reach an even wider audience in the cult of Cornette. Three burglars and Arthur Godfrey listen to my show every Thursday morning at 6 a.m.
Another topical mention, Arthur Godfrey.
There you go. All right.
Glenn, do you know who Arthur Godfrey was?
I do not.
Wow.
I'm only 34 years old.
Yeah, but you ain't right anyway. All right, good night, guys. Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Jim. Thank you. And look at that. He really is out there. His car is waiting for him out there. He's going to drive back to Louisville, Kentucky now. That's awesome.
It's terrific. Well, I don't know who he's giving the money to. There's no valet here. I don't know what he's paying for parking here, but
there's just some guy that hangs outside the door there.
The homeless guy. That's Mark.
What a fun. I've laughed more during this podcast than I have in a long, long time.
It was great.
I enjoyed it.
It was great to have Cornette on, to have Austin Idol patched in as well. And next week we'll have Bill Apter on the show to talk a little wrestling with him. The wrestling historian. I'm sure he has a lot of stories.
He's got a lot of stories. And let me tell you something. He talked about impressions and impersonations and stuff. Now, Bill Apter, he can do some pretty good impressions. He really does. Every time we see each other, he uses a line from the old Universal monster movie, The Invisible Man, and there was an old lady in there, and this is our line that we, whenever we see each other, we say, "He's got no face." There was this old woman, the old Burgermeister, whatever, came up to her and she said, "What?" And she went, "He's got no face." That was from The Invisible Man. But anyway, I'm sure we'll have Bill Apter do that impression when he's on the show. And he does Boris Karloff as well.
Yeah, and in 2 weeks is Halloween. And 2 weeks. So was that one of your favorite holidays, King? I know Christmas. I know Christmas Halloween. Is your holiday.
Christmas number one, Halloween number two, without a doubt, because I could go out unsupervised. My parents were really strict, my mom especially, and so that was like the one night of the year that we would get to go out and roam the neighborhood without suffering any retribution or anything like that. But yeah, Halloween was my favorite. Speaking of that, this past week, Lauren and I and her parents and Peyton went down to Florida to check on our condo for the first time since Hurricane Irma. And fortunately, we didn't have any damage or anything. But then we went up to Orlando and we went through, we spent a couple of days there. We did Disney World and Universal Studios. And Universal is having the I forget exactly what they call it, but anyway, it's the Halloween horror nights. The place is open until 2 a.m. and it was crazy. Oh my gosh, I'd never seen anything like it. If you like Halloween and you like scary stuff, you need to check that out because it was amazing. Of course, the place was packed, but they had 7 huge themed haunted houses to go through. The one was from the movie The Shining. It was great, man. I mean, it was so cool, so scary. They had a Saw from the movie Saw. Oh gosh, and it was 7 different haunted houses that were just scare your brains out. But that was a lot of fun, and I love Halloween. So going through that right here at Halloween time was neat.
King,
you need to go down there and do that.
Yeah, I love Halloween. Halloween's my favorite holiday, and I'm hoping
because it's the only day of the year you can go out and look normal.
Oh, I heard that one 20 times from you. Well, in 2 weeks it's Halloween, so we got to talk about why in a future episode. We teased the end of one episode about why there wasn't any more live wrestling on Saturday mornings in Memphis, and I know because of the Lance Russell tribute show, we pushed that one back. So we'll talk about that as well next week. We'll bring back Squash the Myth. I know we're running overtime this week, so we'll bring us back Squash the Myth.
And listen, now that you just said that, oh my gosh, my big announcement.
Yeah.
My big announcement was going to be, and now I've saved it till the end of the show, but I forgot about it till the end of the show, and you just mentioned that talking about Saturday morning wrestling. Yeah. Hey, this coming Sunday, Bill Dundee and I are going in, and we're going to the studios of Channel 30 here in Memphis, and we are going to shoot the very first Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling Show, and it's going to start airing. It's going to air the 2nd Saturday of every month, the 3rd Sunday of every month, and the 4th Saturday of every month. So we're going to do a new show once a month, and it's going to air 4 or 5 times during the month. And it's going to be going back and looking at the classic days of Memphis wrestling. What we always talk about, what we were talking about here today. And the first show is going to feature the old Tupelo concession stand battle and a couple of loser leave town matches between Bill Dundee and I. And we're going to return to the thrilling days of yesteryear with Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling. That's starting. We're going to do the first show this coming Sunday.
Nice. That's great. So is that going to be only for the Memphis area? And I know a lot of people have asked if this is going to be online available because we have a lot of fans outside the Memphis area. It's going to be online available for watching for out of Memphis people too.
Well, of course, right now it's starting out in the Memphis market, but I'm sure Channel 30 here in Memphis has a way that their shows are seen online. I'm almost certain of that. So that's something we'll let you know next week. We'll give you more information on that because then we'll know the exact starting date of when the first show is going to air and all that sort of stuff. And we're going to tell you information. There's going to be a lot of people out there that may want to advertise on the show. We're going to be looking for sponsors. So we'll give them that information next week on the podcast as well.
Looking at some of our Twitter mentions, I got to give some props. There's a lot of people, they tweet at you, Jerry, about the podcast. And a person tweeted out to you that they were having a bad day and they were able to improve their day by listening to the podcast. So I know a lot of people email us and tweet at us that they love the podcast. We read all your tweets, and we truly appreciate all the kind words. So if you see Jerry out and about, when you meet him or meet and greet, or if he's wrestling, make sure to tell him you love the podcast because I know, Jerry, you appreciate those kind words.
Absolutely. And I love tweet. Yeah, like I've become the biggest Twitter guy. I mean, I love Twitter. And so anytime you get a picture made with me or anytime you see me or anytime you want to tweet anything, just go on Twitter. It's at Jerry Lawler. Mention me in there and I'll retweet you or tweet you back or something like that. So that's always a lot of fun. And you're right. We read every tweet that mentions us or mentions the podcast or mentions me. We see every one of those. I mean, as we were doing the show today, I know I'm going to have to stop this because now I've got my phone set up some sort of way that it vibrates every time a tweet goes out that mentions my name.
That could be fun though.
Only if I got it in my pocket. I always have it in my hand. But anyway, and I'm talking about my phone there. But anyway, we love the tweets, so keep them coming.
All right, that'll wrap it up for this week. Stay tuned for next week. Bill Apter on the show, And we'll talk some monsters, and we'll talk about why Memphis Wrestling stopped all of a sudden live on Saturday mornings as well, and on social media, Dinner with King, Facebook, Twitter, all the podcast apps. Every Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., Jerry Lawler, Glenn Moore, coming to your podcast earbuds here on Dinner with the King. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.